So far, we've encountered 2 of Latin's 6 noun cases. We've met the nominative case and the accusative case. The nominative, I hope by now you will remember, is used for the subject of the sentence, the person or thing carrying out the action of the verb. And it's got 2 possible endings. The nominative singular ends in A for just one person, while the nominative plural ends in AE for more than one person. And within a sentence, we annotate the nominative case by underlining it. We've also encountered the accusative case, where the nominative is for the subject of the sentence carrying out the action. The accusative case is for the object, the person or thing on the receiving end of the action. And again, you should by now know the 2 accusative endings, am in the singular and as in the plural. And when annotating the object of the sentence, we put a dashed underline like so. Question 1, therefore, Regina is my subject in the nominative. She gets underlined. The verb at the end, amat, has a box around it. And poetam is my object in the accusative with a dashed underline. Regina, the queen. Amat, loves. Poetam, the poet. The next case we need to look at is the vocative case. The word vocative comes from the Latin voco, meaning I call. And the use of the vocative is for addressing people, for speaking to somebody. It gets analysed using a jagged line like this. And its endings are nice and easy to remember. They're exactly the same as the nominative, A and AE. You might then ask, how can we tell whether something's in the nominative or the vocative case? There are 2 ways. Firstly, if we consider the example in number 2, the vocative is usually split off from the rest of the sentence using a comma or 2 commas. It also, very often, has this little word O in front of it. Now, we don't tend to translate the O because O sailor sounds a bit ridiculous in English, but we just use it as a little signpost, a marker, if you like, that we're dealing with the vocative and not with the nominative. So, if I'm to translate the sentence, I can analyse the vocative with the jagged line, and klamas here is my verb with a question word, kur. Kur means why. Klamas, second person singular, why are you shouting, comma, sailor. So the sailor here is being addressed. He is the one being asked, why is it that you are shouting? Now, we have 3 further noun cases to deal with. Next up, the genitive case. The genitive means of, and it's analysed with a double underline. It has, again, 2 possible endings. In the singular, AE, and in the plural, ARUM, arum. So if we have a look at number 3, Filia agricolae laborat. Filia, clearly, is the subject of the sentence. I'm going to underline her. Laborat is the verb, with a box around it. So the daughter is working, and then agricolae here is in the genitive singular. We'll double underline him. It's going to be the daughter of the farmer. Laborat, works, or is working. This is what's called a possessive genitive. Of here means belonging to. It's the daughter of the farmer. You can also have what's called a partitive genitive. Turba incolarum. Turba is the subject, apropinquat is the verb, and incolarum here is in the genitive. It's a crowd of natives. The partitive genitive expresses a part or a section out of a larger whole. A crowd of natives, apropinquat, is approaching. Now, it should be becoming apparent by now that the AE ending is a real nuisance. We've already got it twice over here in the plural for the nominative and the vocative, and now we've got it here in the genitive singular as well. In truth, you're going to have to use your good sense to work out which of the cases the AE ending is in. If we look at number 3 here, it's not impossible that agricolai could be the subject of the sentence. It could be that multiple farmers are doing something. But if we look at the verb, the ending of the verb is singular, he, she, it. If it were the farmers working, that would have to be laborant, but it isn't. So in Latin, with these cases, there is always a degree of detective work. Your sentence has to make sense, and also we can use word order. If agricolai were the subject, it will be much more likely to come here at the beginning of the sentence. Also, if agricolai were the subject, what would the filia be doing over here by itself? It wouldn't make any sense. So where in doubt, use your brain. Always a good idea when studying Latin. The dative case means to or for, and it's analysed with a dotted line. I'm afraid to say, again, our nemesis, the AE ending, crops up in the dative singular, while the dative plural ends in is, the letters I and S. Now, it doesn't mean to as in direction. It doesn't mean to as in towards. It's to as in giving something to someone or showing something to someone, telling to somebody. In number 5 here, nautai are the subject, dant is the verb at the end with a box round it, aquam is the object, the so-called direct object, while nautis is in the dative, the indirect object. The sailors give water to the sailors. Oh, I didn't realise I had sailors in that sentence twice. Let's assume they're 2 different groups of sailors. They are the ones doing the giving, the water is the direct object, the thing being given, and they are the people on the receiving end of it, which makes them the indirect object. The sailors are giving water to, slightly improbably, the sailors. Another brief note about the dative. There are certain verbs in Latin which are said to take the dative. This means that they should have an object in the accusative, but instead they behave weirdly, and that object goes into the dative case. Apropinquo is one such example. I am approaching the boy. We would expect the boy, logically, to go into the accusative, but it doesn't. Apropinquo takes an object in the dative, and so too does the verb pugno, I fight. So in this sentence, the verb is at the end and the subject is inside its ending. Apropinquamus, we are approaching. The object of the sentence is in the dative. There it is, villis. We are approaching the villas. I'll just write that in here. We are approaching the villas. And then dearum is genitive plural, so they are the villas of the goddesses. Like so. That just leaves the ablative case. The ablative case means by or with, and it's analysed using a squiggly line. The endings of the ablative are a in the singular, pronounced slightly differently from that a. That one is short, a, while this one is long, ah. You occasionally see it printed in books with a line over it, an accent called a macron. And in the plural, like the dative, it ends in is. Copiae, pugnant, hastis. Copiae, my subject, the troops. The verb is at the end, pugnant. Then fighting, the troops fight, and hastis is in the ablative, with spears. This is called the ablative of instrument, carrying out an action with some sort of inanimate object. And then in number 8, we've got an example of the ablative meaning by. Terra is in the ablative, and festinamus is the verb. Festinamus, we hurry, terra, by land, as opposed to travelling by sea. So there you have it. 6 noun cases, nominative, vocative, accusative, genitive, dative and ablative, with 6 functions: the subject, addressing, the object, of, to or for, by or with, and each of them has 2 endings, one for singular, one for plural. And the sooner you can memorise this table and know it like the back of your hand, the sooner you're going to become fluent with translating these sorts of basic sentences.